For nearly 60 years, the Bouvet Island Lifeboat had no explanation. Then, on an online forum built for exactly this kind of case, someone asked a simple question. What Antarctic expeditions were anywhere near Bouvet Island before 1964? The answer led to a ship most people had never heard of, the Slava 9, a Soviet reconnaissance vessel that operated alongside the Slava Antarctic whaling fleet, one of the largest whaling operations in the world at the time. Ship's records show that on its 13th cruise of the season, the Slava 9 arrived at Bouvet Island on the 27th of November, 1958. According to accounts drawn from that expedition, a group of Soviet sailors and scientists, by some counts around 10 people, landed on the island. Then the weather turned. For 3 days, they were stranded on Bouvet Island, unable to safely launch a boat back to their ship in the worsening seas. On the 29th of November, 1958, they were lifted off the island by helicopter. If a landing party is stranded for 3 days and then evacuated by air, in a hurry, in a Cold War-era operation nobody back home was eager to publicize, what happens to the boat that got them ashore in the first place? It stays behind. Run the timeline forward. 1958. A Soviet vessel makes an unplanned landing, and its crew is airlifted out in a hurry, leaving equipment on the beach. 1964. A British and South African expedition finds an unmarked lifeboat 200 yards inland, exactly where a stranded crew might have dragged it for shelter from the surf. 6 years apart. No other expedition on record went anywhere near Bouvet Island in between. For the people piecing this together, the Slava 9 explains almost everything the official report couldn't. Why there was a lifeboat with no shipwreck to match it. Why there were no bodies? Because nobody died, they were rescued. Why there was no distress signal? Because nobody needed rescuing from the sea, only from the weather. It even explains why the boat had no markings. Soviet vessels operating near contested or sensitive waters during the Cold War did not always advertise themselves. To a lot of researchers, and a great many corners of the internet, that was enough. Case closed. Mystery solved, 60 years late. By amateurs on a forum instead of a government agency. But, and this matters, explains is not the same as proves. No Soviet document has ever surfaced that confirms the crew of the Slava 9 left a lifeboat behind on Bouvet Island. The connection is circumstantial, a plausible timeline, and a story that fits the shape of the evidence. Nobody has produced a photograph, a manifest, or a survivor's account that names that specific boat. And there's a second problem the Slava 9 theory doesn't touch at all. If Soviet sailors left that lifeboat in 1958 and a British expedition photographed it, still sitting there in 1964, then who, or what, took it away by 1966? No expedition visited Bouvet Island in those 2 years. Nobody has ever claimed to have removed it. It could have been dragged back into the sea by a storm surge. It could have simply rotted and collapsed into the lagoon it sat beside. Or something else happened that nobody who is talking has ever explained. Every expedition that has returned to Bouvet Island since, in the 2000s, in 2012, in 2019, has looked for it. Every one of them has come back with nothing. So, where does that leave the mystery? The internet may well have solved where that lifeboat came from. The timeline fits. The evidence, what there is of it, lines up. But solving where a boat came from is not the same as solving where it went. Bouvet Island kept its second secret, and for now, it's keeping it still.